You never know what your limits are until you surpass them.
Hmm.
I read that quote and it's so true that we put these limiting beliefs on ourselves and think we can only go so far. But I think it's so important to continuously grow and learn to live our best life and to really make that impact on the world.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders, welcome back. This is the Uncommon Leader Podcast, and I'm your host, John Gallagher. Jessica Papineau, welcome to the Uncommon Leader Podcast. It's great to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, John. Thank you so much for having me. I am just so excited to be here with you today.
Good. Well, I know that the listeners are going to learn a lot from you. As we had some conversation before we hit the record button. I always miss those. I always think I should just have the record button on anyway, because there's great conversation. But I think you got a great story to share with the folks, and looking forward to it. But I'm going to start you off with the first question that I start every first-time guest with on the Uncommon Leader Podcast, and that's to ask you to tell me a story from your childhood that still impacts who you are today as a person and as a leader.
I have so many amazing stories, John, but I'm going to tell you one specific one that it really drives me every day. Actually, it's something that I recall and remember every day. And that is, so when I was growing up, I lived in the backwoods of Maine, like off the grid. My parents, we had no electricity, we had no running water, we had an outhouse. I mean, it was bare bones. But my love of fashion really was from a very young age. And so, I mean, I truly believe that when we're born with, some kind of greatness within us, our uniqueness, whatever you want to call it, our God-given, gift, I loved fashion. Now, my parents were not super approving of me loving fashion. In fact, all my clothes came from Salvation Army. But I would spend from the time I was about 4 years old, and I would go in my closet every day and take out all the Salvation Army clothes and put on the outfits and look in the mirror and create these outfits and I remember feeling beautiful. It was like inclusive and I was having fun, and it was just the way that I played. But I would leave the clothes on the floor in the closet. By the end of the day, it had piled up. And so I'll never forget the day that my dad came in with a padlock, and he went to put the padlock on the door of my closet. And I remember what that felt like. I remember thinking that my love of fashion and the beauty and all of that, I thought, well, I guess it's not important, and maybe it's superficial, and my parents don't approve of it. And not that it was unintentional, I'm sure, on his part. He's just trying to do the right thing as a dad. But it made me feel like what I loved wasn't important. And so I think that was, the first time I experienced the keep quiet, don't do what others want you to do, that kind of thing. And so I remember that every day when I'm serving other women and helping them to truly step into their power. And, it's about exploiting your uniqueness. And that's how, in this world, I truly believe we're able to serve in the best possible way. Whatever our gifts are, is what we're truly meant to do to make impact. So,
Absolutely. The stories that we have from our past so impact what we're passionate about, what we're
yeah.
good at, and what folks need in the future. And so you're the founder of CSJ Styling.
Yes.
You get a chance, since you did that as a child, now you do that as an adult. You kind of play in the closet, if you will, as well, helping women to learn that stage of design. And I won't say it correctly, so I'm going to let you say it correctly, but ultimately serve them in your role. Before you started CSJ, was there a moment where you really made the decision that that's what you wanted to do as a career? Was help individuals like that?
Yes, absolutely. And I remember it's, you know, I think transformations and decisions really happen in moments. You know, we can, you know, throw ideas around. And, you know, I remember, you know, driving to work when I was working as a sales manager in a local boutique, high-end clothing boutique in med spa. And, you know, I on my way to work, I would, you know, listen to my motivational podcasts. I listened to Tony Robbins mostly at that time. And, you know, I felt like there was like this tap on the shoulder or this whisper in my ear, like there's something more. There's something more. You were meant for more than what you're doing now. And I had, at that time, I had already helped women to transform, many women to transform their lives just through them, you know, coming to me and me helping them to feel beautiful in clothing and really align what they were wearing with the life they desired. In fact, it was my side hustle where I would go and go to their homes and help them curate their wardrobes and pack for their trips and all kinds of fun stuff. But I had seen these transformations and seen how these women's lives were better because I had helped them to feel beautiful. Their relationships were improving and they were becoming more successful in their businesses. And I had, you know, I really went back actually to my childhood and thought about what my superpower was. And it really was my imagination. And
Hmm.
so I have this ability to imagine a better life for other women and hold space with them to have them imagine a better life for themselves. And so I had this idea that I knew that I had to create something bigger than me. And Tony Robbins, I was at a stoplight and I heard Tony Robbins say, if you have a gift and you know you have this gift to share, but you choose not to share it, it's selfish, right? You're being selfish. But, and, you know, many of us were scared to try new things, and that's all a part of it is fear, right? But to do it anyway and have the courage to do it anyway to make those impacts. And when I heard him say it, I could not unhear it. And I
Hmm.
certainly couldn't unknow what I knew, which was that I could do something bigger and make a deeper impact. That's when the decision was made.
How cool is that? So you look at what you quote do, and I hear really two things. One is, I mean, you help women to go through their closets and get things to match better. That's again my bad words with it, but there's a second piece of that that impacts their confidence, their
Yeah.
mindset, and you know their ability, frankly, to step into a leadership role. And I don't mean leadership just from the position of a manager or a title that they have, but
Yeah.
a leadership role as an influencer in their lives, as a
Yeah.
better spouse, as a better parent, and as a better leader in their communities and in their businesses as well. And
Yeah.
so, how can style, something as simple as style, be able to impact their confidence and mindset to make them better leaders?
Okay, this is going to sound really strange. I'm really helping them to, in a way, get over themselves. So when women look in the mirror, and it doesn't matter, this is my experience anyway, it doesn't matter what age she is, what size she is, or what season of life she's in. Typically, what women do, especially when they have on fitted clothing, when they look in the mirror, their eye goes right to the area or areas of their body that they either really don't like or that they're shameful of. And so this kind of goes to mindset. So, what happens when you look at yourself and you see things you don't like, or you feel shameful about certain things? You just get more of that, right? And it becomes these self-limiting beliefs, these, you know, negative thoughts, negative ideas we have about ourselves, and we can't get past it. So, you know, the woman that I really serve in the deepest way, she really is the high performing woman. She really is the woman that desires to be the best version of herself in every area. When she's when she is at home, she wants to hold the space with her kids and really be the best mom she can and go to all their different events. And with her husband, she wants to do date night and really hold the space with him, deepen the relationship. In business, she wants to continuously grow and learn, and she's not afraid of fear. She is courageous and will try new things and grow, but she still has these self-limiting beliefs. And there's a push, right? There's a push with that of what she should be doing or how she feels she can continue to be successful. But when I help women look in the mirror, and by using the right fit and the right fabric of clothing and showing them not how to hide the areas that they don't love about themselves, but to highlight their best features, how to utilize clothing to enhance, skim the body, and show the best parts of the body so that she can look at herself in the mirror and literally go from focusing on what she doesn't like, and she can begin to see her whole body and really feel beautiful. And when a woman truly feels beautiful is when she can look in her own eyes, and much like I did when I was looking in the mirror, pretending I was at all these parties and feeling great about myself, she can look in her own eyes and know and be okay with her uniqueness and know that she is ready to share her gifts with the world. And that's when she can truly step into her power and go out there and share what she was born to share.
Jessica, I love that. As I listen through, there's so many things so many avenues I want to go down. But a picture that came to my mind was this term and of these four overlapping circles, Japanese term ikigai, in terms of understanding, is there something that I'm good at, that I'm passionate about, that it fills a need? But the fourth overlapping circle is that I'm also fulfilled from it. You're living out your purpose. You're being fulfilled in your work. And I guess since there's a couple things, one is that because of your past, even as that 4-year-old child in the closet, you're able to help yourself because you once went through similar things in terms of going forward. So tell me about that a little bit. Is that a little bit of what drove you? Roy Vaden would say you're most powerfully positioned to help the person that you used to be. Was that
Yeah.
where you were as you went through that journey? Part of the story from your dad, but
Yeah.
other times as well.
This has been such a journey for me, and really, not only with the business, but a self-discovery and realizing that through line between, what I have to offer, what I see, the beauty that I see in other women, and also the fashion piece and how I do that. I would say even when I started my company, and that was 5 years ago. February 14 of 2019 is when we launched. But I still at that time was not in complete alignment myself with what it was that I was doing. I still had those feelings of um, that it was slightly superficial, the love of the
Sure.
fashion and the beauty. It really, it's now seeing over the course of the last 5 years of doing this with thousands of women, watching them go through this process of realizing that the clothing and the fashion and the beauty, that's just the vehicle. That was just what God gave me to use, right, to help
Mhm.
women step into their power. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but it's allowing me to help women in an even deeper way, but it's also helping me help those women that are who I once was,
Right.
and
Exactly.
helping them to exploit their uniqueness. Really, they've tried to hide their uniqueness because they have shame around it. But once I can show them how to exploit that uniqueness in the service of others, much like Rory Vaden, has said, it really, that's my why. That's what drives me and
Mhm.
keeps me going.
No, I appreciate that because what I can sense within that passion is that it doesn't get boring for you to a certain extent. If I just make things up, like chefs cook so many meals for others that they don't want to cook meals for themselves when they get home, or
Right.
Even some folks say, well, you fly on an airplanes a lot. You must get a lot of free miles so you can fly anywhere you want to. I'm like, yeah, but at some point I don't want to fly on airplanes because I fly on airplanes too much. I'd rather just stay home. I get a sense that, as you help others, you still have that same passion in doing that for yourself as well. And that you're always going through it to make sure that your confidence continues to grow. And I am curious. So I'm going to have some fun with some accessorizing and things at the end because, again, they're
Yeah.
questions that I don't ask very well. But experts have to stay experts in their craft. So, what
Mhm.
are some habits and disciplines you have to stay up with what's going on currently in your craft, in your industry that you work in?
I've really niched in, John, on the woman that I serve most deeply, and I do. I definitely do keep up with what's happening. In fact, Fashion Week every year, going to New York, scouting new lines, seeing what these different trends and things are that are out there. Certainly very important. However, the way that I run my business is very unique in that it's not about what's necessarily happening in fashion all around us, because I think this is where the confusion lies with many women looking exterior for what should my style be, and a comparison thing that happens when they look on social media, when they look on Pinterest, when they see people, posting stories about how perfect their lives are and how they look in their fashion, and then, the whole like click and buy when, the women at night are looking and saying, oh, I want to look as beautiful as this, getting the item in, trying it on, and it not fitting and looking the way it did on someone else, and then that feeling like a reflection of, wow, there's something wrong with me. And so what I really am focused on, John, when it comes to styling and fashion, is really what I've formulated over the years, which is understanding that fit and fabric is everything, that the core wardrobe is everything. So many women now, this whole thing in the fashion industry about the capsule wardrobe. I've really been doing the capsule wardrobe since the 90s. I just didn't call it that. It didn't really have a name then, but really ensuring that the pieces that I'm getting for my clients are pieces that look amazing on their body. They have a core foundation of items that they feel great in, that align not only with their current lifestyle, but with the lifestyle they desire. And then utilizing and creating and having inspiration from what is happening in the fashion world. And that really being the icing on the cake and how how I teach women how to round out the outfits. And so when I go to New York and I do my buying, it's very interesting because I buy differently than stores and boutiques buy. I'm delving into more of what those core basics are that have great fit and great fabric, and then sprinkling in what these trends are. I know I went
Okay.
really deep into that answer, but
Well, it might be further again. That certainly that I would go, but it's important. So it's the core pieces, and then you tie it around. So what are some the fun questions for me are like, what is it really about then that finishes it off? Is it the earrings? Is it the jewelry? Is it the shoes? What is it that finishes it off? That touch that's there.
all right. So the core pieces really are like, the fitted black pant and the perfect, black blouse, and say that's like your core. I call it the cake. And then we will put some novelty on with that. We'll put on a fun jacket, right? A great blazer that maybe is tweed or it has some interesting details. It's all about details. So when you say earrings and shoes and all, it's all of those little things. So it doesn't have to be, some big thing, but it really is all about the details. It's about really being intentional about those details. So even if on a casual day you put on, a pair of jeans and a white t-shirt, put on a really nice belt that's quality, that's something that you'll have for a long time. And it can be the same, cognac colored belt that you wear pretty regularly. You don't have to have multiples of them, but something that really makes that statement. Some great earrings, a necklace, and putting on really nice shoes. that's really what rounds out the outfit and creates, you know, that visual interest that we want to see in an outfit.
All right. We talked about this in our prep call, and you need to do this for guys as well, because I'll be there. I think it's something that
I
we
do
need.
work with some men, and they're the basically the husbands or significant others of the women that I work with. I do work with some of them, but
So
not a
men are
lot.
listening as well. Why do men need to be more empathetic to this process that you're taking women through?
I think that, you know, it really has a lot to do with, you know, when a man wants, and men want to have connections with their significant other, right? They want their wife to hold the space with them. They want to go on date night. You know, but when she is not feeling great about how she looks, or she feels like she doesn't have an outfit to wear that makes her feel beautiful when they go to dinner, she's going to opt out of going for dinner, and that's going to really affect him, right? That's going to, it's going to kind of derail the ability to spend that quality time together. But I think sometimes what men think, and typically when I begin working with a woman, uh the husband seems a little unsure, because he just sees his, you know, his wife going out there and spending more money on clothes, and she has a closet full of clothes, and she's saying she has nothing to wear. But sometimes what men don't understand, they don't realize that it's not how others perceive us, it's how we perceive ourselves. So when
Mm.
she feels beautiful and feels amazing about how she looks, that's going to allow her to connect deeper with her significant other. And so he needs to be mindful of that, but he doesn't necessarily understand, because he's just seeing her make the same mistakes and buy over and over again.
Rewind that last 30 seconds, guys. Pay attention. You mentioned you've had a chance to work with hundreds of women, maybe more. Do you have a specific, or probably this might be an unfair question, I'll ask it anyway, a specific transformative client story that just resonates with you, that you're able to share?
Oh God, again, I have so many, but I'll share one that I really enjoy sharing, because she reminds me of me, I guess I would say. Uh, so let's call her Jennifer, because I'm not gonna, I won't use her real name, but Jennifer reached out to me about a year and a half ago, and she was desperate. She was going for the very first time to meet not only the higher ups in her IT company she was working for, but her team that actually worked under her. She was going to meet them in person for the first time. Her position was a virtual position, and she was at a mid-level position with a sales team under her. And she had had a baby 6 months prior, and really had not lost the baby weight yet, hadn't invested in herself. She felt good enough when she would go on her Zoom calls. So like from the waist up, she, you know, kind of had it going on. She had the earrings and hair done and, you know, a top, but on the bottom, you know, really sweatpants, right? And so she was really concerned about how she was going to show up on this trip, and she had no clothes. She was desperate. And so went to help her, wheeled in 2 racks of clothes. And I mean, this girl thought, I'm never going to fit in a pair of jeans again, let alone, you know, put on a blazer and walk in a room and feel great. And so, you know, her body language when we first arrived was, you know, shoulders rolled in. She already looked defeated and was like, I just have to get this. I just need a couple outfits, right? And so by the end of the appointment, we had fully packed her for this trip with day to night, even her plain outfit, so that when she walked into the hotel where the seminar was being held, she actually looked put together. And so we left her. She felt wonderful. She was just going to pack for her trip. She reached out to me 3 weeks later and said, Jessica, I've worn everything. I'm going on another business trip. I need you to come back. So I go back and I said, Jennifer, before we begin, you have to tell me, how did this trip go? She said, oh my gosh, it was like I never could have imagined. She said, I just called you to find me a couple outfits. And she said, but what happened was when I walked into the hotel where the seminar was being held, she said, I felt like I wanted to be seen. Whereas in the past, I just figured I wanted to blend in with the crowd. She said, when I walked into the first meeting that we had, the vice president of the company walked up to me and she said, introduced herself, and she said, and your name is? And what position are you in? And she said it was so interesting because we had met on Zoom many times. And so she said, oh, wow, I'm sorry. I guess I knew you, but I didn't recognize you. She said, you look like you could own this company.
Mm.
And she said she couldn't even believe at every different point in the weekend, even when they had their lunches and dinners and things, the higher ups of the company were asking her to sit at their table. They were asking her opinion on how they could make the company better. She said, and I actually was like hearing myself answer these questions and knowing like how skilled I was. And in the past, I wouldn't have shared those things even. She said at the end of the weekend, the vice president came up to me again and she said, when you get home, we need to schedule a Zoom call. I've realized after this weekend that the way that you present yourself and the skill set you have is way beyond what we have you doing now. In fact, it completely aligns with our brand as a company and what we want to represent, with our clients. We need you in front of the clients. And she said, so I'm going, she was going to another company meeting, but it was because she had gotten a promotion. And so she had actually taken the time in a desperate way to invest in herself. But in doing so, she actually created more abundance in her life. She was happier. She felt beautiful and she became more successful. And she said, I never thought I thought I had reached the top. I thought I had gone as far as I could go. I was happy with the job I had. And when she started to feel amazing about herself, she stepped into this whole new level and became something that she never thought was possible.
Hmm. That's crazy. That's awesome, actually. As I listened through that story, and you talked about a couple things for folks to think about. Here's a quote from something you had sent me. In the world of leadership, first impressions matter. As high-level performers, we understand the significance of presenting ourselves in the best possible light. Yet, and you get the yet. It's not just about attire or impression. It's about the confidence and empowerment that comes from feeling good. So there's really, again, your trade, your craft is about crafting a look, but it's not really about a look. I think it feels more about the mindset, the confidence, and I'll go as far as to say the worthiness that that individual has. That by giving them confidence through that, would you say that like the percentage feels like 25% clothes and 75% mindset? You're shifting their mindset away from the negative thoughts, those things that they look at that may not be as attractive, and shifting them to the positive thoughts.
Absolutely. It's
Hmm.
it's way more than clothes.
Absolutely. It's not about the clothes. It's about the self-confidence that you're able to give them through your guidance. And I sense that you have a way with them to get them to feel better about themselves before they leave. What are some actionable steps and practical steps for someone to take to uh, improve their personal style and image? Like practical, what can they do tomorrow?
There's a couple of things, but you know, the first I'll just share with you the first part of my framework that I walk my clients through, because this will give the people listening and watching some really easy things that they can do now. The first step really has nothing to do with the clothes. The first step is really being curious about what the future looks like. It's really being curious about, what do you really desire? Where do you see yourself in the coming years? Where do you want to see yourself in the coming years? And then taking that moment to close your eyes and really imagine yourself there. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? And what do you look like? And then with that lens of curiosity and imagination, walking into the wardrobe and really determining what pieces that are in there align with that image. What pieces, um, do you feel that you're worthy of putting yourself into and feeling great in? And and thinking about, even if it's a Monday, putting on your best dress, right? And feeling great because you deserve to feel that way. And then the other piece of that is really determining, obviously what pieces are not working for you and letting go of the past.
Mm.
Because, as the high performer that I serve, we're not looking behind us. We're really not going that way. So why stay there? Clothes hold us back. Those clothes that don't fit us or that we wore in our previous life, they hold us back from what we desire. And so really taking the opportunity to let go of what's no longer serving us and feel worthy of going out there and getting the pieces that align and that do make us feel worthy. I do have on my website, John, it's my free wardrobe edit blueprint. And these are like some really amazing actionable steps that'll kind of get this process started. And, I call it the 3 Fs: fit, fabric, fashion. And then does the item that you're looking at really align with lifestyle or where you're headed in your life? And they're very simple, questions that you ask yourself of, if the answer is no, the item is no, get rid of it, move on.
Mm. Wow. Whoa. Wait. So if the answer is no, get rid of the item. I
Get
mean,
rid of
that's
the item. And
yeah.
maybe it's, perhaps it's you're consigning it, and you're getting a little bit of, money towards investing in a new wardrobe. Maybe it's donating it, and you're donating it to someone that's maybe stepping into a new life as well, that was like your previous life, and you're giving back to that person and paying it forward. It's not serving anybody just sitting there in your closet, or it's not doing anyone any good for you to be putting that on your body and feeling just good enough, because you're worthy of more than that.
So powerful. It's simple. Again, it's outside of just wardrobe, but it really is sorting out those things that no longer serve you. And again, there was a conversation I read about, when we stay in our past, especially, and if some of those things bring back some, negative connotation, it's just got to go. We got to sort those things out. We got to move them out of our mindset because they stay there and remind us of things that we don't need to know about. I'll make sure to get a link to your website so that folks can go and get that free wardrobe imprint. I think that's a great idea.
Can I
For
add one thing,
you
John?
can add. This is about
Um,
you.
the reason why I just know, I know how this process goes for women, and it's really actually scary.
Mm.
It's scary to face these things. It's scary to think about what we really desire, because there's a lot of fear around that, and there's the fear has to do with, trying something new, feeling worthy of, stepping into our power, but also, that overwhelm of like, how do I know, like just beginning that process. And it's okay to feel that way, because once you start feeling better and you start to like wear things that do align with this life you desire to step into, you need to know that the fear isn't going to go away. You just have to continuously lean into it and continue to be curious, because along with, you're going to experience a ton of joy, because you're going to be feeling better about yourself. Your relationships are going to deepen. You're going to be more successful. But in doing that, you're also going to be putting yourself out there to be seen. And being seen can be really scary. Being seen, we can get our butts kicked when we're seen, but that's part of feeling joy. So I just want people to know that if they're going to start the process, yes, it's scary, but just keep going.
Yeah, you're saying it's simple. It really is. I mean, the thought, but it's
Mhm.
not easy to go through in
Correct.
terms of those steps to get started. I got the
Correct.
same feeling. I got t-shirts that I've had for 15 years that I'm just not getting rid of. I mean, they're just sitting there, right? That's part of the guys from, they have fears of throwing those things away, those memories away that still exist, and hang on to things way too long. And that's probably unfair to just say that for guys. I think we all do, because I think about that in terms of relationships, and I think about that in terms of, you know, Facebook, and people that you used to know that are on Facebook, that for some reason we still have this desire to hold on to that,
Yeah.
rather than letting that go, and moving into the future. So I'd love the thought process you have about focusing on what you want to feel like, or where you are in the future, and what you want to feel like when you're there, looking forward as you think about what that wardrobe. And again, there's so many other things that run parallel to that in terms of mindset and our lives that are very important. Jessica, you've been so gracious with your time. I think I could keep going, and I know I've already overrun the time that I had asked of you. How can folks stay in touch with you, get to know more about you?
Well, definitely go on my website and download the free wardrobe edit blueprint. I'm also offering to your listeners and those that are watching today a free styling call with me. And I'll also make sure you have that link, John. And really the purposes of that call are to really determine, where you're at in your journey in your life, but also, as far as fashion and what your end game is, what your goals are with your wardrobe, and really determining where I can meet you where you are, and see where the best places to go for you. We're going to be launching an app here in the next little bit. So I don't know when we're going live, but it might even be live by the time this podcast goes live, where we'll have basically a 3-tiered membership program, a digital course, where people can learn how to do this on their own. Also a community where we'll basically do it with you, and group coaching on fashion and style. And then the one-on-one working with me to curate a wardrobe specifically for you. Follow me on social media for sure at the Jessica Papineau on Instagram, Customized Styling by Jessica on Facebook. And just follow along on the journey. I have lots to offer. I try really hard to give lots of value on my social media platforms. And yeah, just follow me on my journey.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
cool. No, great, and great idea to give that away as a part of it. I hope folks take advantage of it for you. Again, thank you for the time. I've got to give you one more question. It's the last one I
Yeah.
finished with. It gives you a chance to have the last word on the
Yeah.
podcast. It's one I ask all my first time guests, but I'm going to give you a billboard. You can put it anywhere you want to. You can put it in Florida. You can put it in big city, however you want to put it, in New York when you go to the shows.
Yeah.
What's the message that would put on that billboard, and why would you put that message on there?
You never know what your limits are until you surpass them.
Hmm.
And I think that is quoted from someone. I'm not quite sure who it is, but I read that quote, and it's so true that we put these limiting beliefs on ourselves and think we can only go so far. But I think it's so important to continuously grow and learn to live our best life, and to really make that impact on the world.
Very cool. Jessica, thank you so much for sharing. I
Thank
wish you
you.
the best in your future endeavors. And thank you for sharing with the listeners the Uncommon Leader podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, John.